are you there? Oh.
Hi, Christina. It's Steve. I'm going to, well, those of you who are in the room here early, I'm going to get some stuff set up, doing our opening slide. Give me 1 second. Christina, do you want to test your screen share or anything?
I wasn't planning on doing any screen share, but can you hear me? It sounds good.
Yep, sounds good on this end.
All right, perfect.
And I met with Ida and got her working, so she's good to go.
Great, awesome.
And I'm going to quickly show you how these slides go. Those of you who are in the room early, you get to see a little preparation work. So I'll just recognize San Jose State. Then I'll invite Dr. Hirsch to come on and say a few words. And then she'll turn the time over to you. This slide will be up, but then I'll stop screen sharing as soon as you want me to.
Okay, I think Bohyan is first, and so I think she's going to screen share at that time. I'm just going to like introduce the symposium and then introduce them.
Okay. So when you do those introductions, do you want to leave the screen up?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. So then I'll just leave the screen up, and then as soon as Boyan is going to start, I'll just she can actually just screen share and take over.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Well, I guess go get some hot tea or whatever your beverage of relaxation choice, and then I'll meet you back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll check in about 15 minutes to make sure everybody's logged on.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Ida. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Christina?
I'm great. It's good to see you.
Thank you. You too. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Ida, were you going to share any slides during the presentation? Did you go through it with Steve at all?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to share your screen, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So when I'm going to introduce each person before they start to speak, and so while I'm introducing you, that's when you can like share your screen. So that gives you some time.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Hey, looks like everybody's here.
Great.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh yeah, hi. I didn't see everyone else down the line. I need to scroll. Hey Jim, hi Boyan, how are you?
Hey,
Good, how are you, Ida? Hi, Jim. Hi, Gwen. How are you both?
good, good.
Great.
Okay, so hopefully you heard me. I was just telling Ida that I'm going to introduce each of you before you start to speak. And so that's a good time to share your screen. So it gives you a little bit of time to do that.
Okay.
And if anybody has any technical issues, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do the intro at the very beginning, and then I'll be here just in case somebody gets nervous or they're not quite sure what to do.
Thank you.
So I think we're only waiting for Dr. Hirsch.
Oh, I had one question for Christina. Do we do Q&A first after each of us talk like 5 minutes and then go with the questions on the doc, or is it the other way? I couldn't figure it out.
I'm on mute. Okay, I'm talking, so you can hear me now.
Yes.
I was
Hi,
thinking,
everyone.
Hello.
hi, Sandy.
How are you?
Hi.
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see everyone.
Hey, 10 minutes to go, and we're all here, and it's all working.
Yay!
Hooray!
Don't jinx it. Hey, Christina, how do you say your last name?
It's Mune.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to double check.
Boyhan, to answer your question, and also, can you verify I'm saying your name correctly, Boyhan?
Boyan, yes.
Boyhan. Okay. I was thinking for time that we might take them afterwards. I don't know, but I'm flexible.
And we don't have Q&As right after each of us, right? We just wait until everybody's done and then do it, right?
Yeah, I think we'll do Q&A at the end. So we'll be like collecting the questions.
Okay, so for those of you who are here early, we're about 7 or 8 minutes away. 111 people in the room so far. This is fun and exciting. We're going to be silent probably for the next few minutes, but thanks for being here. And we'll start at the top of the hour. Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and we're about 5 minutes away from the opening keynote for the Emerging Technology Mini Conference, the Library 2.0 Mini Conference. Thanks for being here. We will be quiet for the next few minutes, and then we'll start at the top of the hour. Thank you. Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and we're just a couple minutes away from starting. If you put a note in the chat, be sure to use the drop-down to make sure the note goes to all participants and the panelists. I don't think it's intuitive, but I noticed that it's easy to use the default and it just goes to the panelists. So if you've posted something and you wanted to go to everybody, you can post it again. Lots of folks letting us know where they're participating from. We're about a minute away. Those of you who are why we're silent, it's our Zen moment, our preparation for getting started. As soon as we hit the top of the hour, I'll hit the record button and we'll get going. Thanks for being here. Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and welcome to our mini conference, Library 2019, Emerging Technology. This is the opening keynote. Special thanks to San Jose State University School of Information, founding partner for the conference, and Dr. Sandra Hirsch is the co-chair. So I'm going to turn some time over to Sandy.
Hi, everyone. I'd like, as the director of the School of Information at San Jose State University, we are very pleased to have been the founding partner of the Virtual Library 2.0 conference series. And we're really excited to welcome you all today to our Library 2.019 mini conference focused on emerging technology. I want to especially thank our partner, Christina Mune, who has partnered with us to put today's excellent conference together. She's been a tremendous help in helping us organize and shape this conference, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it today. So with that, I'd like to pass it back to Steve and Christina so that we can get into hearing from our great keynote panel that will be starting just very shortly. So welcome, everyone.
Okay, go ahead, Christina.
Great. Thank you, Sandy, for that introduction. I wanted to welcome everyone here today and thank you for joining us at the Library 2.019 Emerging Technology Conference. So I'm Christina Mune. I'm the Associate Dean of Innovation and Resource Management at San Jose State University Library. I've had the awesome opportunity there to implement many emerging technologies and systems that enhance library services and spaces and programming over the last 8 years. Some of my favorites that we've been working on recently are probably the Clever Lab. So it's the King Library Experiential Virtual Reality Lab, and our Rapid Prototyping Lab, which is staffed by a graduate student who's also a NASA intern. We're also currently testing a chatbot built by virtual interns from the San Jose State iSchool, which you can hear more about during one of our presentations today. So I was very excited and honored to be asked by the iSchool and Dr. Hirsch to organize this conference, and I have learned so much while reading the proposals and speaking with our presenters.
I made you full screen. Did that make you pause?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a sound problem. So I've learned a lot, and I think that I found that libraries truly are living laboratories for emerging technology, constantly improving themselves through its application and providing equalized access and support for all our communities, be them students, researchers, potential entrepreneurs, citizen scientists, lifelong learners. We really enable them to explore, engage, and create with the most cutting edge technologies available. And you'll see that through the presentations today. We have ones about augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, drones, robotics, makerspaces, chatbots, Discord and Twitch, which my gaming friends tell me I need to learn to use, and also about inclusive technology design and emerging technology MOOCs that help us prepare for all these technologies on that are coming up. Our speakers span all types of libraries, archives, and information organizations across the globe. And I think it's really clear from the conference schedule that information professionals everywhere are evolving their institutions, bridging that digital divide, and transforming our communities through these emerging technologies. And that includes the members of our amazing Keynote panel. So each of our panelists here today are working with and researching technologies and libraries, and they will share with us today the emerging technologies they believe are the largest on the horizon and how to prepare for those. So we'll also have plenty of time for Q&A after the presentation, so please put your questions in the chat box and we will hopefully get to all of them. Our first speaker today is going to be Bohan Kim. So Bohan, if you want to share your screen while I introduce you, that would be great. So Bohan is the Chief Technology Officer and an Associate Professor at the University of Rhode Island Libraries. She is the author of 2 books, Understanding Gamification and Library Mobile Experience, Practices and User Expectations, and the founding editor of ACRL's Tech Connect blog. She is the past president of the Library and Information Technology Association and serves on the advisory boards and committees of the ALA Office for Information Technology Policy, San Jose State University School of Information, and Library Pipeline. She holds an MA in philosophy from Harvard University and an MSLIS from Simmons College. So thank you so much, Bohan. And it's all yours.
All right, thank you very much, Christina. Can everybody hear me okay? And is my slide showing?
Everything looks great.
Okay, excellent. I had a little snafu there trying to make it full screen, but I think I got it all sorted out. So I'll get it going. So today I will be talking about 3 notable near-term technologies that I picked. So very happy to be here. Thanks to Christina and folks at the Library 2.0 for inviting me. I have, oops, sorry about that. It's not, okay, there you go. So the 3 technologies that I picked for today are smart voice assistant, natural language generation, and computer vision. And these are all powered by artificial intelligence, which most of you would have no doubt heard quite a bit these days. I have about like 5 to 7 minutes for my part today, so I cannot go very deep into any of these technologies. I also won't have time to talk about artificial intelligence in general, but there are lots of resources about it. But I will try to provide a brief explanation about each of these 3 things that I have picked. So the first one is smart voice assistant. They have been gaining traction in the consumer market in recent years. They are already familiar to many of us through smart speakers such as Amazon Echo, Google Home Max and Mini, and Apple HomePod, as you see here. Smart voice assistants such as Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, Apple Siri, Microsoft Cortana, and Samsung Bixby power these smart speakers. These voice assistants are also included on our smartphones, tablets, and often computers themselves. And they let us use these devices with our own voice command. So it's sort of a natural user interface. Currently, voice assistants are used for relatively simple tasks, such as looking up something on the internet or getting information about the weather or current news, and also, of course, shopping. But these intelligent, smart voice assistants are getting smarter. So last year, Google unveiled the new AI-powered feature of Google Assistant called the Duplex. And some of you may have watched the video of this demonstration. If you haven't, I highly recommend doing so because it's really incredible. So this Google Assistant feature called the Duplex can make a phone call on its own to a restaurant and make a reservation for you, or schedule an appointment on your behalf with another person at the other line. And it is very, very natural. Google also announced that the real-time translation feature originally developed for Google Pixel Buds will be made available for all Google Assistant compatible headsets very soon. Note that smart voice assistants may also get added to other home appliances in the near future. Recently, Amazon added Alexa to a microwave, which also works as a convection oven and an air fryer. And I'm not sure how smart move that is, but there is no denying that these things are going to be included in every electronics very soon. At the end of 2018, about 41% of US consumers owned a smart speaker. That is almost twice as many as in 2017. And this shows the public's increasing adoption of the smart voice assistant. And libraries are trying to keep up with this trend by developing custom apps for those voice assistants, such as Alexa Skill or Google Assistant Action. And with those custom library apps, library patrons then will be able to get their questions answered automatically in a similar way that they would use their smart voice assistant. This article that you see in the American Libraries magazine reports that libraries are using these voice assistant functions for event calendars, catalog searches, item holds, and advocacy, and so on. But these smart speakers are always on and listening. There is also growing concern about consumers' privacy. While companies such as Apple, Amazon, and Google deny any eavesdropping by these smart speakers, there are many users online reporting otherwise. So that's one near-term technology that I believe is going to have a lot of impact on the way we live and work, etc. The second pick is natural language generation. So natural language generation is a technology that turns data, structured data, into a natural language, such as English, French, German, etc., and generates sentences and paragraphs for people to read and understand. And just like the smart voice assistant, natural language generation is also powered by artificial intelligence, and machine learning, which is a subfield of artificial intelligence. So the Washington Post, USA Today, Reuters, and BuzzFeed, all these media companies are experimenting news writing with AI technology. Heliograph, the Washington Post natural language generation application, produced the news stories about the Olympics and elections. And this was done based upon the given narrative templates and a set of structured data provided. Widgets used by USA Today creates short news videos that condense news articles. And Bloomberg News produces as much as a third of the content that it publishes relying on its AI tool called Cyborg. This tool, Cyborg, helps reporters produce thousands of articles on the quarterly earnings reports of businesses. These natural language generation applications were also used to create many news articles on baseball, football, and earthquakes at the Associated Press, the Washington Post, and the Los Angeles Times, respectively. Natural language generation dramatically lowers the cost of content creation. So media companies can generate a much larger number of stories quickly to cater to many small audiences on local or niche topics. And the third pick is computer vision. So computer vision is a subfield of artificial intelligence that trains computers to interpret and understand the visual world as we see it as humans. And actually, Google Lens is a good example of how this computer vision is applied. So here are some screenshots of Google Lens in action. Google Lens is a set of vision-based computing capabilities that allow a smartphone, Android phone to be precise, to understand what is going on in a photo, video, or live camera feed. And it is capable of performing real-time translation and object identification from the camera screen, which is really, really cool. So it can scan and translate text that you see through the camera of your Android phone. It also allows one to look up words and events to one's calendar, add events to one's calendar. Also call a number if the number is like in the phone number format, or just copy and paste to, the text, the words in that text. So on the left, you can see that Google Lens is actually identifying the restaurant menu And it's also bringing up the reviews online for each dish, so how good it is or not, so that's pretty cool. You can also point the camera of a Google Lens compatible smartphone to a popular landmark and find the historical fact. So you see in the middle, this historic building, and then the camera recognizes this and then bring up information about it. So associated historical fact, if it is open to the public, the hours, even entrance fees. And then on the right, you can see the Google Lens identifying tulip, right? So all of these things can make our lives much easier and more convenient thanks to computer vision. But it also raises many concerns about people's privacy and the technology's overreach, because we rely a lot on vision. So when computer is able to perform similar tasks, there is increased amount of risk associated with that. And as you can see from these news stories, existing biases in all AI algorithms are also something that we must be aware of and find a robust remedy before they get more widely adopted. So I believe that these 3 AI technologies that I talked about, smart voice assistant, natural language generation, and computer vision, these 3, I believe, will have a significant impact on our daily lives in the near term. And I think those would be something that we should keep our eyes on. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Boyhan. I think those are really interesting developments. I definitely think a theme at this conference and in tech development is AI personalization and like the impact that that data and the collection of that's going to have on us. So thank you so much. If you have questions for Boyhan, you can go ahead and put them in the chat box, and then we'll be asking those at the end. So we'll be collecting that. Our next speaker is Ida Arlene Joyner. She is the senior librarian. She is a senior librarian at the K-12 Universal Academy in Texas. She is the author of the book, Emerging Library Technologies. It's Not Just for Geeks, which is like an amazing title. I love it. And an upcoming book on drones and libraries that will be available in July 2020. She was a visiting scholar at the Life Under Drone Symposium in Tacoma, Washington in September. She's also a member of MIT's Technology Review Global Panel, as well as LIDA's Information Technology and Libraries Board, where she performs peer review for LIDA publications. She publishes frequently on emerging technologies and has presented internationally on a variety of topics. Ida holds her MLIS from the University of Pittsburgh and is currently a doctoral candidate in Texas Wesleyan University's Curriculum and Instruction Program. Thank you so much, Ida, and you can take it away.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit about 3 technologies: virtual augmented reality, 3D printing, and also robotics. But first, I like to start with a little tech humor. Why did the developer go broke? Because he used up all his cash. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb? None. It's a hardware problem. Are you a geek or a gadget king or queen? Does it make your heart go pitter patter? Uber, Google, Tesla, Audi, and some of the other major car manufacturers are, of course, working on self-driving cars. We have our smart watches, smart clothes, other tech wearables. For 3D printing, we have the prosthetic limbs for humans and animals. You can make jewelry, have food, etc. With 3D printing. Robots helping patients out of their beds, greeting patrons at our local libraries. Drones carrying pizza, emergency medical supplies like in Rwanda, delivering other types of items, as we know, with Amazon. And in the future, we'll be using drones to deliver books. So let's have a little bit of fun here. Again, feel free to comment in the comments, the chat box, if you're a geek, gadget king or queen. Emerging technologies, we can think of emerging technologies as technologies that that are new, but it can also include some older technologies that might be considered controversial. And for those who are inventing some of these technologies, there are large economic rewards. I'm going to start with our first one, virtual reality, augmented reality, which is a very exciting technology. It's been around for a very long time. And so when you think of virtual reality, you can think of computer technologies that replicate real or imagined, that they simulate a user's physical presence, that they artificially create sensory experiences that we're familiar with, our sight, touch, hearing, smell. And in the past, they've mostly been used in the military and entertainment industries, but now we know that that they're used in every industry imaginable. It's really taken off in libraries and healthcare, and some of the actual devices, the Oculus VR, Google Cardboard, there are just a myriad of devices that are available. And so how can VR be used in libraries? Well, it levels the playing field. The prices have gone down considerably, so there are many libraries that are utilizing virtual reality. And some of the libraries actually check out the equipment. Patrons can check them out for 2 weeks, 1 week, it varies. And patrons from all backgrounds and economic levels can come to public libraries, for example, and utilize the equipment. And so it levels the playing field. And it's very good for STEM, for engaging students to want to pursue the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. And it's a really great resource that is it's growing by leaps and bounds. Some of you have probably already implemented it in your library. Google Cardboard is very inexpensive. And so probably many of your libraries are already utilizing it, as well as others. Augmented reality, you can think of that as that it's a real world environment where the elements are augmented or supplemented by computer generated sensory input. And you can think of it in terms of sound, video, graphics. And so what it does is it merges 3D virtual objects into a 3D real environment and displays it in real time. And so you can take your smartphone and actually we're going to look at Google Expedition for just a couple of seconds in the next coming slide. But some of you probably have already used Google Expeditions, which is really, really it's really wonderful. You have your smartphone, and it's just really wonderful. And so Google Expedition, it's an app that you download to your smartphone, to your iPhone, your Android, whatever device you have. And so Google has some really wonderful information out on their website, as well as video clips. So I'm going to try, hopefully you can see this on my screen. And so if you go to the site, you'll see that you can scroll down and there's an actual video here, and you can see that there's the cardboard reader right beside it. And you can actually play the video. And if you look over to the left, there are over 900 VR expeditions that are available to you to explore. And so if some of you are using this in your libraries now, feel free to type a little bit in the chat room about how you're utilizing virtual reality through the Google Expeditions. And then if you scroll down a bit more, there's the augmented reality that brings the world into your classroom. And there are 100 AR expeditions that are available for you to see. And so you can have an optional selfie stick too. I'm not going to play these videos, but I highly encourage you to, when you have a minute, if you haven't already, take a look at these videos that that Google has put together. So you can go to the website to see that. And so again, if you're using it in your workplace, in your library, feel free to enter some of that into the chat room. And so I'm going to take about 2 minutes to go through robotics. There are a lot of libraries all over the world that are implementing robots or have implemented them. And some of you might have them in your library. Some of you might have them as part of STEM kits where patrons can come into your library, and you might have a container where you might have a small, say, Finch robot or a Sphero robot, and maybe some books that are introduction to robotics for young children. And you might have that all together in a kit that patrons can check out. And for those of you who like trivia, the word robot is derived from the Czech word robota, which means labor or a work. And so in your libraries, you might have your robot where it can interact with small children through your story time programs, where the robot can sing and read and dance and otherwise engage in children. And they found that robots are great for children with disabilities because children feel much more comfortable. They might not feel comfortable talking to another human being, but they feel very comfortable talking with their robot. And what the research has shown is that some of these children who are very, who don't feel comfortable talking will actually sometimes get with other children and start talking about the robot, which is something that they feel very confident and comfortable doing that. So that's really good. And librarians can host robotics classes and competitions in their libraries. And we have libraries all over the world who are doing that now, where students, they learn how to use, design, and program the robots that we know can lead to highly financially lucrative careers in the STEM area. And so here's an example here with Westport Library. I'm not going to play it, but they actually have a talking robot in their library in Westport, Connecticut. So if any of you are using robots in your library or thinking about integrating them into your library, feel free to enter that information into the chat room. And our last one is 3D printing. I mean, 3D printing is being used just in every way imaginable, from making pancakes to building homes, cars. It's an amazing technology that's going to continue to grow by leaps and bounds. And many libraries now, of course, have the 3D printers that they've obtained through grants or donations, and so it's a wonderful technology. And you'll see there's an image of a 3D printer in the screen here, and so you can actually download some of the models for free or at low cost from different websites. I'm going to go over to the screen now where you can see some of the places. You're probably familiar with these, such as the NIH. They have their 3D printing exchange program. There's the top 10 best websites to download 3D models here. You have your iMaterialize, Thingiverse, 3D model databases. So there's some really great opportunities for 3D printing. What does the future hold for these technologies? The possibilities are endless. Many libraries are implementing them already. As the prices continue to drop for these and other technologies, our libraries are going to obtain them through grants, gifts, purchases. I recommend seeking opportunities to collaborate with others so that you could get some of the technologies that might be a little bit more expensive than you have the funds to purchase. And so keep reading, keep learning, keep tweeting, and keep having fun. And so I'm just going to have a screen on here too of how you would keep abreast of these emerging technologies. Breathe. You saw some of the wonderful resources that Boyan had obtained articles from. These are some of the publications here: MIT Technology Review, The Economist, Guardian. There's so many on here to choose from. But first, you want to pause and breathe, and you want to skim, and then decide if you want to read the whole article. If you want to implement these technologies or others in your library, you want to get your stakeholder buy-in, you want to engage your legal department, know your audience, know your costs so you can find the money. You want to build strategic partnerships. You want to look at who's going to be your tech expert, how are you going to market it, what is the safety and security. So these are some of the things you want to keep in mind when you're thinking of implementing any of these emerging technologies into your library. And so here's a screen of my book, and you'll see some of the technologies that I have included in my book. So thank you so very much. And feel free to enter any questions in the chat room. So thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ida. That was great. Your questions created a lot of conversation in the chat box. Hopefully people are checking in with that. People are posting lots of links and information, so that's great. I also really like the idea of using robots to engage children with disabilities and get them communicating. I didn't know that they responded so well to robots, so that's amazing. Thank you. All right, our next presenter is Jim Hahn. Jim is an associate professor in the undergraduate library at the University of Illinois. Jim's research into technology-enhanced learning has led to many software development projects within library settings, including the creation of the Minerva project, which is an open source library services app that promotes the use of the Internet of Things, also known as IoT, and user data and wayfinding and recommendations. He is currently serving as the primary investigator for the University of Illinois grant-funded project, Information and Environment, Integration of an IoT-powered recommender system within the Folio open source platform. And just for everyone to know, Folio is an open source integrated library system, which is actually really exciting. The results of this research will also be made available open source on GitHub, which is amazing for libraries. So thank you, Jim, and take it away.
Okay, let me see, just getting my screen to share. 1 second. Well, I don't know if you have the slides that I previously sent, if that's possible to pop them up or.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Okay, sorry.
Jim, are you having trouble bringing them up on your own computer or sharing them?
I have them on my computer. The security settings on my laptop are not letting me share them with yeah.
Okay, I have them up.
Let's see.
Oh, you have embedded fonts. So, okay, so no promises on formatting, but.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So, yeah, sorry about that. I have a new operating system. The most recent version of Mac OS has really great security. So this is what I intended to share. It's I'm going to be talking about knowledge panels, AI machine learning for data discovery and reuse, which is partially based on a workshop I attended at Carnegie Mellon in May last summer. Next slide, please. Okay, so really what I intend to kind of communicate today is two features that I see libraries really leveraging for sort of increased sort of discoverability and adding new value to collections that may get overlooked. And I think part of the knowledge panel development is almost like a type of search engine optimization, in the sense that we want to get our library data into those knowledge panels that are surfaced on Google, and we want to make our collections more interactive. So I'll talk about that, and then machine learning methods. Next slide, please. Okay, so this came out of some research by Dr. Fenlon and others, and this is about sort of linked data and really seeing the deep sort of connections that are in special collections. These actually came from this Graphin Node network graph is about family connections derived from notes of Philip Kolb and the Life of Proust. And what's really excellent is this is just sort of a new way to engage with collections that previously kind of didn't exist. And it definitely offers sort of more analytic insights by using linked data. So that's definitely making possible unique scholarship and increasing discovery and access to unique resources. Next slide, yeah. And then they also, Dr. Fenlon's group also looked at sort of asking users how they would use knowledge cards. And what was interesting is they thought that you could, these knowledge cards were useful in disambiguation of terms. So this kind of gets at sort of a subject browse, but a more, I would say, actually it's sort of like the next generation of subject browse, where it can really help you explore your content. And this item is enhanced with contextual information derived from external sources, and those might be like Wikidata. That seems to me that seems to be like one of the large linked open data sources that libraries leverage, but there's a number of others depending on sort of which cultural heritage institution you're working with. Then this is kind of just a more blown up image, and I think we're kind of familiar with these in Google, in the sense that we've seen these knowledge cards. I find them pretty helpful for getting quick information, and I think that libraries are really poised to not only develop their own knowledge panels on their like search result page, but really start to integrate using linked open data and some other formats that I'll talk about on the last slide about sort of getting our unique content into search engines. Next one. So a project that we did here at Illinois is account-based recommender, and sort of it takes a look at subjects that you have. So you've checked out some books, those have subjects associated with them, and we did this recommender system pilot where we used frequently occurring subjects that like occur together in a checkout, and we use that to make a sort of authority-based browse, of sort of a Netflix, Amazon type browse. And what's very exciting is that if you dig into the linked data for production second phase project, in their background project and goals, this linked data for production is sort of a library focused, and there's several academic libraries that are working on this, and they reference being able to do sort of a Netflix and Amazon type browse. And I think these into another paradigm into search, which is not just based on sort of known title searching, but sort of exploring. And I would say, like, Netflix and Amazon has sort of pushed push the expectations of users to be able to do something like this. So these are recommended based on sort of items you might have checked out, and they're sort of helping users sort of see what else is available that they may have missed in just their item search of the catalog. And then there was a talk by OCLC Research at Carnegie Mellon in May, and they were using machine learning AI methods in subject prediction, and their study looked at automatic subject assignments, and their findings were that this could really help users, but also their proposed algorithm isn't necessarily like 100% complete. So there's some initial work here from OCLC Research, and I think they wanted to be they wanted to do a machine learning / AI project that really spoke to sort of the needs of their users and what may help libraries. And I think automatic subject assignment is a great place, using basically a classification problem with deep learning. And I'll have links on my presentation so you can take a look at the research. Yeah, and then this is kind of my the third theme is really some technical principles. And I think that we as libraries need to start with some smaller pilots before we do large scale implementations. And I think machine learning tools are, have to be used, where appropriate. In recommender systems or projects with already labeled data. If you have some labeled data, that's already the first start, because machine learning projects really depend on their data sources. And then finally, I recommend sort of taking a look at linked data in both schema.org and other linked data standards that can capture sort of the expressiveness of MARC. A project that I worked on used both schema.org and BibFrame, and sort of kind of depends on sort of which interfaces you're going to use. Schema.org descriptors work great for elements of the web, and I think BibFrame more geared towards library systems. And so those are some underlying technical principles for sort of operationalizing some of these knowledge panels and machine learning type projects. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Jim. I am kind of a discovery nerd myself, so I love this stuff. I think it's very difficult sometimes to explain BibFrame and linked data and how that all works to people. So I'm wondering maybe on these references, or if you have, this is kind of our first question and I get to ask it because I'm the moderator. Do you think there is a resource that helps people understand linked data and its use in machine learning, like that, for like beginners? Do you have something that you would recommend?
Yeah, one thing that's sort of a free tool, there's a Coursera course called AI for Everyone. It's about a 1-month course. I think it can take 8 to 12 hours potentially. I think that's a good introduction to sort of like what is the language of AI, and just getting a foundation in AI. In terms of like linked data, I would say the linked data for production wiki page is a pretty good starting point. Library of Congress BibFrame website is excellent. And actually taking a look at Wikidata is another very good place. So there's several sort of introductory places to get started on the web.
Great, thank you. Let me take a quick look at the question and answers, just so we can go to some audience questions first. So Peggy asks, with Google Lens on an iPhone, can you search and identify photos taken previously in Google Photos, or just live photos, just live images?
As far as I can tell, you can use Google Lens directly with your phone when your camera is on. So there is no option as far as I can tell, because I don't have an Android phone. So this has to be like, qualified by the statement that I only tested on my own iPhone. But there's no option. So if you have Android phone, maybe you guys have extra features. It's totally possible. But at least on iPhone, you need to download the Google app first in order to use it. And then once you open the Google app, you can select the Google Lens icon in the search window, and that will activate your camera, and then there will be a bunch of options at the bottom. But as far as I can tell, there's no way for you to bring that up to use that feature to photos that has been already taken. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Another participant asked for specific examples of usage of robots in libraries. I will say that we have a presentation, I think starts at 1 about robots in libraries. And so you should definitely attend that, and they have a number of examples. I don't know if we can go over them right here. I wanted to ask a question of the whole panel, is that given the wide variety of technologies that are emerging at kind of an ever quickening pace and the seemingly always limited budget situation, right? How do you suggest that library professionals choose what the library or archive or institution should focus on offering? Like, how do they select the thing that's maybe most impactful for their organization and that they should invest their time in? And maybe you could tell us how you chose like the emerging technologies that you focus on as an example of that. And we can start anywhere, whoever wants to start.
I would say, this is Ida. I would say that basically you want to know your audience. Who's your audience? And who can you build a strategic partnership with? There might be a company that's near your library that you might be able to work with, where they could maybe donate some of the equipment. A good way to find out what people want is, of course, to ask them. You could have focus groups. I know that one library in particular here in Texas, their director said, okay, I know drones are very popular, get them in here. And so actually gave him the money, and he went on Amazon and bought several of the drones. It's a matter of what type of library you are, and what kinds of projects you're interested in. I know there are some libraries that were given grants through the National Network of Library Medicine, for example, to purchase 3D printers. They wrote a proposal and were funded. So it's a matter of keeping abreast of technology, seeing what your audience, your patrons want, and then determining if it's something that you can afford. If not, I actually have a chapter in my book on how to get stakeholder buy-in for implementing emerging technologies in your library. And so basically, what I talk about is find out who your board members or your whoever's in charge, basically the big kahuna, and research what it is that you want to have in your library based on need, right? Based on audience, and then do your research. Get with your legal department, find out how much it's going to cost. Again, find out if there's some organizations that you can partner with. If you're a university, certainly there are departments that you can partner with. If you find out that they're working on a particular project that you might be interested in, meet with them and talk about how you might be able to have the technology housed in your library. Everybody comes to the library, and again, build these partnerships, and do your research, put together your proposal, and submit it to your director of your library, your board members. It all depends on who the big kahunas are, and that's a good way to get them into into your library. So that's what I've done. I've worked in academic, public, and school libraries. And there was a technology that I read about, or that I attended a conference and learned about it, and then researched it, found out how much it costs, what it would take to get it in to the library, and put together a proposal and submitted it to the CTO or the director, or whoever was in charge. And when you're putting that proposal together, make sure that you include in there how it's going to benefit your organization, how it's going to benefit your key stakeholders. You want to make sure that you speak to why it's absolutely important, must have, that you get that technology into your library. And also talk to other libraries that have implemented the technology that you're interested in, and learn their best practices and lessons learned. Put that all together in the proposal and then submit it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Boyhan, Jim, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, this is when I'll just add a quick couple of things. So yeah, the relevance is really important. So every library serves the different communities. So if you're a librarian, library professional, you are the ones who know the best what the needs, the pressing needs of your community is. So I would always recommend selecting a technology that would have maximum impact with the limited resource that you have, right? So like always the most shiny technology would not going to be the best pick for your particular library patron community. So that should be the important criteria when you make your choice. And then, but with the caveat that never say just to no because you don't have enough money, because we always, have a shortage of funding, right? But always find an innovative angle so that even if you know that this is going to serve the need of your existing community of library users, find the particular innovative angle that you can kind of infuse into your library program or service or whatever initiative that you want to create, so that you would inspire and excite people. And when you have a good idea, you will find the new revenues for funding. So do not just give up saying that, well, I want to do these great things, but it requires like $20,000. We don't have $20,000, therefore we cannot do it. So don't have that kind of sort of defeatist mindset. It's not very helpful. So I would like to emphasize picking something that would really serve the real need of your community. And at the same time, try to do something innovative that would excite your user community at the same time.
Thank you. Maybe we have a few more minutes. I wanted to change gears a little bit and ask a question about actually data and data privacy. You all touched on AI and like personalization somewhat in library services. So, as libraries are making choices between personal privacy, identity security, and the organization's desire to tailor the experience to the user and like utilize AI and engage in data-driven decision making, where do you think libraries should fall on that spectrum? Like, how do you advocate for that that balance, or where do you want your library to fall on that? Is the question too big? Sorry.
I can start us off.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I thought a lot about privacy with regard to the recommender system that we worked on here, and it is an opt-in service. And I will say that we developed a privacy policy for this service, and it basically includes like all the information that a user might want to know about how their data are stored, what data are used, what you can do if you have questions about the data, who you can contact. So I think it provides a way to have a conversation But of course, this kind of gets to like, how do you know what to implement in your library is working with like your senior admin staff sort of, and this is something that we did here is we had a lot of conversations about like, what is it that our population wants? And we were seeing that our graduate students, they did see the value in recommender systems for gaining other perspectives from disciplines outside their own. Certainly the university is founded on disciplinary knowledge. However, like interdisciplinary viewpoints are very valuable as well. So with regard to privacy, I think like an opt-in policy is important. I think understanding your population is critical. And then just aligning it with, what is the user story that you're trying to meet? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? So I think like a pragmatic approach saying this solves XYZ problem with information search. And in terms of like data retention, I would say libraries need to retain only the data that are necessary to retain, and really protect, when looking at vendor agreements, really protect any data that a third-party vendor might have access to, and try to either strike those out or make sure that things aren't being collected that don't necessarily need to be collected.
Great, thank you. I think that's a really excellent answer. I do like the idea of limiting the retention, and the opt-in policy I think is really important. I did want to give everyone a few minutes at the end of this hour to get to our next session. So I'm going to go ahead and close our keynote panel. Thank you so much to all our panelists today. And Jim, there was a request if you could add maybe to your slides a link to the privacy policy that you were talking about. I think people wanted to see a example of that. I also want to thank so much the SJSU iSchool, Dr. Hirsch, and Steve Hargdon for helping us so much with all the technology and organization of this. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of our presentations today.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks to the panel. Okay.
Steve, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I wonder if it's just me. You're kind of breaking up a little bit.
I'm having a hard time hearing Steve too. It's maybe 1 out of every 5 words or something.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Steve, we can't hear you. Oh, okay, Steve dropped off. So yes, please check your schedule that you received when you registered for the conference. It has, you want to go to your time zone and click there, and you will have all the links to the rest of the presentation. And thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, panelists. You were great.
Thank you.
Steve, are you back?
You know, it wouldn't be a fun event if there weren't a technical glitch. It just slays me after all of that, right?
At the very end, yeah.
Well, it's so funny because we pay extra for the size of the room for Zoom for this open and closing keynotes, and quite candidly, even Zoom still ends up having problems. So we just do the best we can.
Yeah. No, it was great. Thank you. I mean, the fact that it lasted almost the whole time is perfect.
I know. I got an email from someone saying, why are you using Blackboard Collaborate? And I said, well, with 5,800 registrants, it's the one platform we know will be stable through the whole time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Hey, I loved that session. It was so good.
Oh, good.
And I'm really curious. It's sort of a bigger question. Obviously, maybe I'll have talk to Sue about it in the closing session. But the real question for me is, how do libraries define themselves moving past books, right? and sort of information. And the definition of a library is a learning center. Do the technologies facilitate learning, or are you learning about the technologies? And those are such interesting questions to me, because I feel like in a lot of ways, school libraries adopted makerspaces in part because they just were seeking relevance, right? Something to do. And then so you have to say, okay, so what is then the core value? What's the mission of the library? And I feel like libraries are such sacred spaces. You really want to figure it out so that they can be defended and protected.
Yeah, oh, Ida, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as far as the maker spaces, a lot of it has to do with finding creative and innovative ways to engage the students, and that has developed into providing that, so that to encourage students to pursue STEM, when they go on to university, if they go on to university. Which of course that's the hope that students will do, and then beyond that they will graduate with a degree in one of the STEM areas and be able to fill some of these 250,000 STEM related positions that are unfilled. And also to build their critical thinking and problem solving skills, because a lot of companies, especially technology related companies, will tell you that the skills that employees and potential employees lack is critical thinking and problem solving skills. And those are some skills that you get when you're working with some of the makerspace tools. So that's why that's a good reason why the schools have them and should have them.
Hey, I love this conversation, but I'm gonna actually close this room so people don't hang out here instead of going to the next session.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Oh, well,
More fun ahead.
yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida. Thanks, Steve.
And
Thanks,
so
Devon.
for me to get to the next, to some of these other ones, to go somewhere else, what's the best way for me to do that?
Just click on the registration, and
Okay.
you get an email with all the links.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Front
great.
page of the network. Okay.
Because I did do the registration. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.